The Genghis series, I mean, the whole, as with all the historical series, I mean, I try to do pretty much start to finish. I think you've got to know the boy to know the man, know the child to know the leader. I mean, the first book takes him up to the age of about 18, the second book up to the age of about 30-odd, and the third book takes him to the final years, where the main problems really are who's going to follow him and what happens, because everyone comes to an end. Genghis hasn't always been a hero of mine. I mean, really, I was looking for stories first and foremost. I mean, I grew up in a household full of stories, and my great-grandfather was a Shanachie, an Irish storyteller, and I always had a sense of what makes a good story. So when I'm looking for people to write about, I look for that, and it's very often extraordinary achievement, what you can do with one life. And Genghis has that in spades. I mean, it is, I think, the greatest rags to riches of all time, without a shadow of a doubt. Abandoned, left to die, aged 11, his grandson is the Emperor of China. Between those 2 points, you have an amazing epic tale. You know, that's why I chose Genghis. I always hope the books would do well, but I'm never absolutely certain they're going to. The biggest fear for me was starting the Genghis ones again, because I'd actually only been published once in one sense. I'd started the Julius Caesar books and then, you know, published 4 of them. The Genghis one was the first time I had attempted to do it all over again, with a completely new story and a much harder sell, because, you know, when people think of Genghis, they don't have any of the colour that they associate with Julius. So I knew that was going to be difficult, and the fact that they've done well, the fact that people trusted me enough to continue reading a different topic, especially those people who loved Rome and bought my books because they liked Rome, and then to come with me, you know, with Genghis, that was, you know, really wonderful. Leaving Julius behind was quite difficult. It was the hardest thing I had to write of those 4 books, and I remember stopping the book, and I couldn't write the very end for some time, because after, I mean, it was about 6 years it took from start to finish to write those 4, and I knew the characters incredibly well by then, and I knew how they thought, and I cared about them, and as wet as it sounds, you know, I knew them better than some people around me. I knew them so well that I didn't want them to go, and I had to write that final scene, where after all his best friend turns on him and he's crushed and murdered in front of you know, his society at the very heart of his culture. It was a difficult thing to write. The most bittersweet in a way, because in some ways I was pleased to be at the end of something I'd spent 6 years over, but it was bitter because I missed him ever so much. Well, I'm sort of letting go of Genghis with Bones of the Hills, because I'm never quite sure whether I should say or not, but he does, you know, he kind of dies. I'm going to continue with his family. The whole sort of story arc is from his abandonment at the age of 11 up to his grandson being the Emperor of China. You've got to tell the whole story. And his son's an interesting man. He drank himself to death. I mean, so much so that he worried his brothers, to the point where they asked him to promise to swear to drink fewer cups of wine each day, and he agreed to this under duress, but then he had a set of enormous cups commissioned so that he could still enjoy the grape. And then, of course, Kublai Khan, who became Emperor of China, started his own dynasty, kept attacking Japan and failing miserably, but he became so fat he had to, he could only hunt with a leopard across his saddle and send the leopard away to kill things. I mean, it's a great story. They're really, I mean, you know, you talk about the word epic. This is a brilliant family. Very interesting. So I look forward to that. I mean, I've got 3 more books to go on that. After that, I don't know. No one plans more than 3 or 4 years ahead.